Hello, Plaza Middle School, and welcome to your 2020-2021 Student Handbook Review. I am Mrs. Daniel. I am your assistant principal, and you'll see my picture down there in the bottom of the screen, along with Dr. Singletary, that is your building principal. And over on the very right-hand side is Mr. Van Horn, the other assistant principal and athletic director for Plaza. Our student services team is also here to support you this school year. Mrs. Malone is over on the left. She will provide services for our 7th grade teams and our 8th grade champions teams. She is our school counselor, along with Mr. Calvin, who you see right there in the middle. He will be over 6th grade for all 6th grade counseling needs this year, as well as the 8th grade Warriors team. And then over on the right, you see Mrs. Schreier. She's our school social worker, and of course, she works with all of us. At Plaza, all of our student handbook is surrounded upon the following core values that we believe in for all students and staff in our building. And that's following the expectations of the Tiger Pride. Pride standing for preparation, respect, integrity, determination, and excellence. We all strive each day to show our pride core values, whether we are on the bus, in the hallways, classrooms, and that could be online or in person, restrooms, and in the cafeteria. Your teachers will be going over these expectations with you in greater detail as we get into this first week of school. Today, I am really going to be talking to you mainly about our student code of conduct in our Building Successful Futures Every Student Every Day Park Hill School District Student Parent Handbook. They're all online for the entire district, and you're welcome to read it for your viewing pleasure. It is about 100 pages long, but I'll be hitting some highlights today. I'll also be talking about a few things that are in our one-to-one student parent laptop handbook. However, you'll be getting a lot more information about the laptops and AUP discussions in a separate video. This school year, we have a special COVID-19 notice. It is in effect for this entire school year due to the evolving nature of the ongoing pandemic. Our school district continues to develop plans, procedures, and other strategies to promote health and safety and to mitigate risk throughout the school year. These health and safety measures will take precedence during this school year, and the district may modify or suspend the existing terms of the handbook as it deems necessary for health and safety purposes. Specific handbook sections that may be impacted by COVID-19 are noted, but the district does reserve the right to modify or suspend any handbook information as needed this school year. I am going to share with you a few of these changes just related to this school year. Here's a few examples of changes related to the notice. Book bags and backpacks. Yes, students, you're allowed to use your book bags and backpacks to carry your supplies, your books, and your materials to and from school. However, the second part of that in the handbook says book bags, backpacks, and personal items are to remain in the students' lockers throughout the school day, and students are expected to carry individual books and materials to their classrooms. That's one of those examples of changes for this year only. We are going to have you carry your book bags and your backpacks into class during the school day this year, and they'll remain with you throughout the school day. Why? Well, because of the next section, lockers and lockers. We won't be using lockers this year. So anywhere in the past where we've said needs to be in your school locker during the school day, well, you won't have a school locker to use. So you'll actually carry your items in your backpack with you to and from each class, and then take it home every evening too. Another example of a change related to this notice relates to the standards of dress. In our current code of conduct under standards of dress for the last few years, it talks about not being able to wear masks at school. Well, obviously, in the past, we've been talking about costume masks. For example, you're dressing up at Halloween, you come to school, you wear your mask, and that's never been allowed. That's still not permitted, but the masks we're talking about this year are those health masks that we're wearing to help spread, help not spread the COVID-19 virus. So actually, this year, we're requiring that you do wear a mask to school and in the classrooms. So another change for student discipline then is this school year, our district will continue to develop these plans and procedures and other strategies to promote health and safety and to mitigate that risk in response to COVID-19. But failure to comply with these plans or those procedures may be considered a violation of school rules and result in discipline. For example, a simple request is that you wear your mask. Students that are not doing that and they're not demonstrating acceptable conduct with respect to that information and to that plan and procedures, we may determine that you're intentionally or recklessly creating a risk for yourself or other people around the school environment, and you're not following a reasonable request, so you'd be deemed of a disciplinary violation. So make sure you're, following the school rules, and whether it's related to mask or student discipline, so that you can be here and be learning with us. Otherwise, we will invite you not to be here with us, unfortunately. Some disciplinary actions that we do use at Plaza and across the district are these disciplinary actions, and they're really in the categories of minor offenses going all the way up to major offenses. So some of the first things are loss of privileges. For example, in the cafeteria, you're messing around in the cafeteria, getting in trouble in there. You might have to leave the cafeteria. You lose the privilege of eating in the cafeteria with your friends. You might have to eat somewhere else, like with me in the principal's office. Or you might not be able to participate in a special assembly. For example, if you are in an assembly and you are horsing around and getting out of hand, or maybe having poor sportsmanship, you will lose the privilege of attending the assembly or a school dance, or participating in some type of extracurricular activities, or being allowed in the hallway without an escort. So those are some minor disciplinary things that could happen to you if you lose privileges of doing something. Then we kind of work our way up to other consequences if they're needed. At detentions, we do have morning detentions, lunch detentions, after school detentions. They're anywhere from 20 minutes to 2 hours long, depending on the severity of the offense and how much detention time a student would have to serve. And then we go up to more severe consequences, which results in suspension. Sometimes that's an in-school suspension. Sometimes it's a shorter term out-of-school suspension, maybe up to 10 days of out-of-school suspension, or it could go to a long-term out-of-school suspension that could be anywhere from 11 out-of-school suspension days all the way up to 180 school days. And yes, that would be more than 1 year of school that you would be suspended from. That could be maybe 180 days, could be 2 school years, all the way up to expulsion, which expulsion means that no matter what the case is, you don't get to come back to the district or to a school in the district. That's in very severe consequences that we would, that's determined by a board of education along with the superintendent. Let's talk about some of the minor things, which dress code. I want you to be aware of the dress code. So what do we mean by being aware? Well, shoes. You got to wear shoes in the building. It's a health and safety issue. So shoes have to be worn in the building. Hats, hoods, visors, bandanas, non-prescription sunglasses, and other headgear like that, they're to be left in, well, typically it would be your school locker, but if you bring those to school or wear them to school, they need to be kept in your backpack this year. Heavy or lengthy chains are not permitted ever. Clothing must be the original design of the garment. uh, for example, some people like to take T-shirts and cut all the sleeves and holes out of, cut big holes into them like they're working out at school. We don't have you wear those to school. They show a lot of excessive skin, and we don't want to do that. That's not as appropriate for the school environment. Um, that's the same as halter tops, tube tops, spaghetti straps, tops or dresses, or any clothing really that exposes a lot of skin, bare midriffs, backs, very revealing. Those are all prohibited and not appropriate for the school environment. Clothing or accessories, and when I say accessories, this could be like your mask. A mask is going to be an accessory this year, but clothing and accessories that has any reference to products that deal with alcohol or tobacco or drugs or sexual connotations, they are not permitted. It's not appropriate for school. Don't wear those types of things. Don't have them on your mask or on your backpack. Um, those types we would consider very disruptive to the educational process of other people, and they're not permitted here at school. Students who do wear inappropriate clothing or have inappropriate masks on or accessories to school will be required to make modifications to that clothing or change into acceptable clothing. Failure to comply with this may result in disciplinary action. Next type of what I would consider a minor offense, but it could become major, would be tardiness. Don't be late. Follow the clocks. We're all on student schedules. We've got so many minutes that we want for class periods. So what happens if you're late to class? Check out the hallway clocks. Make sure that you know what time it is and that you're getting from one place to the other in a timely manner. What happens if you don't? What happens if you're late to class? For example, you come to school late and you miss the first few minutes class is supposed to start. Let's just say your class is supposed to start at 8 o'clock and you came to school late, and so you got to class at 8:02, 8:03, 8:04. Doesn't matter, you're tardy, you're late. What will happen? Well, first tardy, we consider the first tardy a minor offense. This is just a teacher warning. Same thing with the second tardy, but 3 times, come on, that's a pattern. That's an excessiveness. 3 strikes, you're out. That's kind of how we think of it here. So, what would happen if you got your third tardy in a quarter? Well, you will meet with your teacher, and you and your teacher will have a conference, and you will figure out why it is you're continually late to that teacher's classroom and come up with a plan to prevent that from happening again. Your teacher will also let your parent know that you're having trouble getting to their class on time, and that this is the solution that you two have worked out so that that's not going to happen again. We will give you that on the third tardy. But if it becomes more of a problem after that, then it does come to the office. That's where you would meet with an administrator, and we would go over the tardy policy once again. I will probably pull this slide up if you have to come into my office and talk to me about it. And then we start with more discipline. We'd start with probably a 20-minute detention, which is typically served over lunch. You might have to serve that with me. We might do an after-school detention though, and especially if it escalates to more than that, then we're looking at, 1 to 2 hours after-school detentions. And then when we become chronic, and that would be 6 or more, then we would be talking about the major discipline, where we'd be starting to look at in-school suspension for you. This school year, I want to make sure and point out and talk about bullying from the standpoint of online bullying. I think that we have done a really great job the last several years of talking to you about bullying from the Alvea standpoint, about the 3 key components. It's mean in nature, there's an imbalance of power, and it's repeated over time. And we've also always talked about online bullying, cyber threats carrying over to the school day. And I think more importantly, this school year, where some of us are going to be online the entire time and some of us are going to be online half the time, I think you need to be aware, no matter if it happens when you're inside the school building or outside the school building, at home, online, if it carries over to school and students and other people aren't wanting to come to school because they feel like they're being bullied and they're really there's a lot of mean behavior going on towards that person and they feel uncomfortable. It doesn't matter if it happened in an online chat with that student at your house because you're an online student, or if it happened here in the building in your second period class. Bullying is bullying, and there will be school disciplinary consequences for those types of situations, no matter whether it's online or in person. At our building, we used the Sprigeo for reporting purposes for bullying. Yes, you can verbally report bullying to any trusted adult in our school building. However, many times you're not at school or you need a way to do it so that you feel like it's more confidential. And it is always good to put it in writing. So we use Sprigeo, and I'm going to encourage you to make your bullying reports, whether it's bullying related to yourself or someone, a friend that you saw being bullied. Make your reports on Sprigeo. Those reports, they go directly to your school counselor. They they come to all of the administrators, the building principal, myself, Mr. Van Horn as well, and the superintendent's office with all the information that you provide. Yes, you can report anonymously there. I would strongly recommend, though, that you report with your full name and give us as many details as you can. There are so many times that we just have a few questions we need to know, and we need to know who to ask them to. We'll always do it in a very tactful way so that you're not called out like, you made a Sprigger report. No, it's confidential. But we obviously sometimes just have some questions that we need to know answers to. And so it's very helpful if you go ahead and put your first and last name on there when you make a report on Sprigeo for us. One code of conduct violation I'd like to talk to you today about is academic dishonesty. It falls into two categories at school at Plaza, and that's because your grade book falls into two categories. There's the classwork, the homework assignments, those 20% academic practice and prep grades. You'll notice the very first offense is a teacher detention if you're cheating on your classwork, homework assignments, copying off each other's papers, those types of things. And then it becomes more serious, however, though, if it's an 80% assignment. Exams, quizzes, major assignments, those result automatically in some suspension. I want to caution you because I know that you might think, oh my gosh, the reason, I want a good grade. And sometimes I'm just trying to help somebody. Well, when you think about it this way, at school, what we're really here for is to know how you are doing academically. Like the grade for a teacher and your parents is to say, hey, yes, I've got this, I know what I'm doing, or no, I don't, I'm struggling, and I've got a gap in my learning. If you are cheating on an assignment, whether it's copying or looking up answers for a test when you're not supposed to be using your notes, or plagiarizing a paper, we don't know if you know that work, if you really know that subject or not. And that's what we really want to know because it's our job to help you learn. And if you're not learning and you are struggling, we need to know that. So please be honest with your academics because that's the only way that we can help you improve is to know where you're having some issues with academically. So be honest with your own work. In our student code of conduct, we have some big offenses that I always want to make sure and highlight with secondary students. And as a secondary student, that's 6th through 12th grade, there are some major offenses that they are always require police notification, and they carry over from one year to the next as far as suspensions go. Some, as I told you earlier in this presentation, there are some um, misbehaviors that students get in trouble for that are minor things, tardies, dress code, those types of things. You know, you get in trouble one year, then the next year it's a new year, you start over again. Or tardies, you get in trouble for tardies one quarter, but the second quarter you didn't have any. So it's not a continual, we don't look back at your record from one year to the next on those minor things. However, big offenses, we do. They accumulate 6th through 12th grade year. For example, fighting. That's one I always want to talk to you about, because fighting, physical fighting and assault with other students, number one, it always results in police notification. So you're having to work with the juvenile system, and that kind of gives you a record. The very first offense in middle school for fighting is 3 days of out of school suspension. If you get into a second fight, it's 5 days. And then if it's a third fight, it's 10 or more days of out of school suspension, because it can result in a long-term referral. But this doesn't start over from one year to the next. So just imagine, as a sixth grader, you got into a fight, and you were suspended for 3 days out of school. And then let's say you came back your seventh grade year, you didn't get in any fights. Your eighth grade year, no fights. All of a sudden, you're a freshman in high school and you get into a fight. That's considered your second one. So let's say you got 5 days out of school suspension. Then let's say you came back your sophomore year, no fights. Junior year, first week of school, your junior year of high school, you get into a fight. That's your third fight. You're facing now 10 plus days of out of school suspension your junior year of high school. They may determine that you're not coming back for your senior year, because they may give you more than 10 days of out of school suspension for that third fight. That's why I think that you know that it's very important not to get physical with other people, not to do things that incite violence, not bringing weapons to school. Weapons are included, pocket knives, that includes in weapons. Other big offenses include alcohol, drugs, any type of weapon, firearms. You'll see down there at the bottom, there's a Leatherman tool that's got a stop sign and no sign on it. Leatherman tools have knives in them. Can't bring anything to school with a blade on it, or it's considered a weapon. So keep all of those things at home. Other types of serious disciplinary infractions include confrontations. It could be a verbal confrontation, two people screaming at one another. Might be a physical confrontation, just one person physically pushing, shoving, hitting another person, or encouraging in a fight or encouraging an assault. Let's say that you're saying, yeah, go get him, and you're really you're in the crowd and you're urging people to get in trouble, or you're videotaping it and you're posting it on social media of a fight, and that's encouraging a fight. You're encouraging violence. Any of those types of offenses, they all result in suspension. Let's talk about one that's not as normally severe, and they don't carry over from one year to the next, but there are violations with our student code of conduct. At the middle school level, you're not to have cell phones out in the classroom during school time. Cell phones and electronic devices are not permitted during class time. That includes wireless earbuds or ear pods. You can't have those at school either in the classrooms. So if you have a cell phone, or if your parents are entrusting you with an electronic device, or you have wireless earbuds, and you're wearing them like to school, like in your car that you're being dropped off in, or on the bus, as soon as you get to school, they go into your backpack, and they're turned off or put on silent. You can use them before and after school, clubs, extracurricular events, after school practices, and those types of things. But once you come into the building and you're in its class time, they're put away and turned on silent. If you violate this policy on the very first offense, your device will be confiscated and turned into the office, and you can pick it up after school. Second offense is the same, but we start issuing more discipline as well. If it happens again, parents are notified, you receive some detention time, all the way up to it's possible for a fourth offense, you've already served after school detentions and such, that it's time for suspension level. Now, I will say this doesn't typically happen because parents have been notified the entire time. And honestly, they're allowing you to have a cell phone because they're trusting you to follow the rules with phones as well. And they're not allowed in the classrooms during the school day to be used. And if you're getting suspended from school, most parents are taking them away from you at home too, if you're getting in that much trouble. So it usually doesn't get to that point, but a few times it has. Vaping over the past few years has become a problem in our country too. And because of that, one of the things about vape is that you are underage. It's not legal for you, period. And so because of that, anytime that you are in possession or using or dealing with vape here at school, a law enforcement referral is required on all the violations, and all of those violations result in out-of-school suspension, even on a first-time offense. Deliveries to school, no outside food may be delivered during the school day, like pizza deliveries, fast food. Also, we really discourage deliveries of flowers, balloons, gift types of items to school. And a lot of times it's well-meaning parents or grandparents that are trying to send flowers to school, but we really discourage that. You're not allowed on the bus with them, and so sometimes you're like stuck here at school because the bus driver won't let you on and you've got these flowers to take home. So please make sure that all your family is aware of that policy. No selling of personal property. So students are not allowed to sell clothing or candy or personal property or other items while at school. If you violate this, you'll be subject to disciplinary consequences. The last major thing I'm going to talk about is harassment. It's very similar to bullying. It's mean behavior, but it is mean behavior that's directed at a protected class. A protected class might be a class regarding a person's race, so racist comments, or their religion, sexual orientation, harassment we kind of classify it into two different categories: non-physical, which is verbal or written. So those would be like demeaning jokes, racist comments to somebody. Then the other category we have is physical. I'll talk about that in a moment, but you'll notice just in this first category, the one you're looking at here is non-physical. It's the verbal or written. It still results in suspension level discipline on the first offense. On the physical would be physical harassment like sexual harassment, depantsing, that results in 1 to 10 days of suspension on any offense on the physical harassment. Harassment applies to not only the school day and not only students, but it involves us all. Anybody that works with the school are under these guidelines, and any school-related organizations or clubs or extracurricular activities also fall under this policy. Any person at all who believes that he or she's been the victim of sexual harassment should report the act immediately to the building principal. Finally, Laptops 101. Now, I know you're going to be hearing, you're going to actually be listening to some other videos just on computers and their care and signing off on your AUP. But I did want to talk to you a little bit about our filtering system here at school. Now, I know that students bypassed our district web filter by downloading Opera browser so they can access things like social media and games. And I know this happens. It is a violation of our school laptop AUP agreement. The school laptop is to be used for academic work and academic items. By law, we're required to have a filtering system. And so when you bypass our district filtering system, you're breaking the law, so to speak. And that's why there's a violation and there's consequences for doing those types of things. Like you're not supposed to download the Opera browser. You're not supposed to be on Facebook. You're not supposed to be using, you know, Instagram. That's not what your school laptop's for. Your school laptop's pretty much to be used like a textbook or a notebook or a binder. You know, it's for school purposes. That's why we provide you with one. So I'll leave it at that. I just want to close today by saying um, I am so I'm so looking forward to seeing each one of you. I know some of you I probably won't see till second semester when some of our online students come back. But those of you that are going to be here in person at least a few days a week this first semester, please reach out to me and visit with me anytime. You'll see me a lot in the cafeteria and in the hallways. I'll probably be in there every day. My name's Mrs. Daniel. I work with all students. I am particularly excited to see our new Plaza Tigers as they begin their sixth grade year, but I'm also really looking forward to seeing some of our seventh and eighth graders back that I got to know last year. So welcome back, everyone. I know on behalf of Dr. Singletary and Mr. Van Horn, they're very much looking forward to meeting you as well. So I will see you soon. Now that I'm going to close here, I know it'll be time for you to actually sign your student code of conduct that we had our little training on, and looking forward to a great school year.